Research shows that parents are the number one reason young people decide not to drink or use drugs. That means you, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, and other caregivers in a kid's life. Even if it doesn't seem like it, they really do hear you. Start talking to your children about substance use before they start experimenting. As early as 9 years old, it's important to be an example. Send a clear, strong message that you are not okay with substance use. Protect our youth. Addiction Prevention Coalition. Click through to our parent toolbox.
Hi, I am Shantae Owens, chairperson of the board of directors for the Addiction Prevention Coalition, and I would love to welcome you to our very first virtual fundraiser, Resilience is Key. On behalf of the board of directors and myself, we would like to thank our sponsors for this event: Protective, Alabama Power, Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Alabama, America's First Federal Credit Union, the Welch Group, Impact Recovery, and Maynard Cooper Gale Law Firm. We would also like to thank our guest speakers: Jean Chizik, Eli Gold, Sherry Jackson, Diane and Weston Flowers, Becky Harris, and our students, Jasmine Lomax and Ray Huckabee. We want you to sit back, enjoy, and relax, because we really do believe that resilience is key in prevention and recovery and in life. Thanks so much for joining us, and now I will hand it off to Mr. Eli Gold.
Thank you, Judge Owens. Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us for Resilience is Key. I'm so happy to be here supporting such a worthy cause. You know that APC does some wonderful things here in the Birmingham area and actually outside of our area. And right now, during this pandemic, their programs are needed more than ever. We're going to hear straight from the community members that have been impacted today. And we're going to start by hearing from two awesome young people, Jasmine and Ray. Sherry, over to you.
Thank you, Eli. I am so honored to be a part of the day's event, and I want to introduce two students to you, Jasmine Lomax and Ray Huckabee. They are alumni of the Student Advisory Council, the Youth Advisory Council, and I just want to talk to you both about your experience and what you learned about resilience. And so, Jasmine, I'm going to start with you. Tell me, what does your chapter of InFocus do?
Well, my chapter, we really focus on the kids inside of our school, because we noticed a really bad problem with kids. We get introduced to all the drugs and stuff in the community, and then they'll bring it into school. So we made sure that we educated the students in our school about drugs and all the different things that they really shouldn't be exposed to.
So sort of being on the lookout. Ray, what about you?
So it's pretty much the same. Basically, we bring awareness to the students as well as the people within our community. We come up with activities like whether it's going out to lend a helping hand to the rehabs, or dealing with the homeless or people who are suicidal. So basically, like reaching out and bringing awareness to those type of things.
Which is important at this time, Jasmine? You think just making sure that students are connected in some way is important?
Yeah, when students feel connected, they don't feel like they need to go astray and go do things that is not beneficial to them. Keep their minds hyperactive on something that's better, like that's improving them, making them grow to a greater place.
And that helps build that resilience. Ray, let me ask you why you became involved with the Youth Advisory Council.
Like, I knew being a part of this program would show the love, the respect, and the pride that I had for my community.
What about you, Jasmine?
I joined because I used to live with my cousin who was exposed to a lot of drugs, and I didn't really understand what was going on. So I joined to educate myself. And then once I became a part of it, I wanted to educate others.
What was the response from people, like when you reach out to somebody to tell them about InFocus and the Youth Advisory Council? What was the response to someone, from someone who, you didn't really know, but you wanted to share this information with?
I was seen as a nerd who was like, oh, you're trying to prevent drugs or whatever. I'm just like, it didn't really bother me but it really wasn't a good response.
Wow, so that shows the challenge. What about you, Ray? Because I can tell that you have a lot of personality, so you're the type of person people may be drawn to. What was the response for you?
Yeah, so really, like when I approached people and I was telling people, like it was basically kind of like the name APC, and then you tell them like it's addiction prevention. It was like, wow, you're addicted to something. I'm like, no, we basically like just go out and like, share tips and give information about certain things that are going on within the community. And I invited them to like some of the meetings and stuff, and then they kind of got the hang of it, and some of them actually end up joining.
Because that part where you explain to people about addiction and that you really can learn to not be addicted, right? You can learn to not go down that path in the first place with a youth advisory council and just educating them before they get blindsided by it. Let me ask what you're most grateful for. And Jasmine, I'll ask you this. What are you most grateful for from your involvement with the Youth Advisory Council?
I'm really grateful for being exposed to all the information I was given and all the opportunities we were given to go out into the community and like volunteer and meet people who were addicted and how their stories and how they overcame it. I'm just really grateful for the people I met along the way. It was really great experience for me as a student.
And Ray, what about you? What are you most grateful for? And what do you take with you today from that involvement with the Youth Advisory Council?
With my communication skills, like at one point before I got involved with the program, my communication skills were not exactly where I wanted them to be, but because of YAC and because of its great leaders, I think as of right now, as of today, I'm exactly where I need to be.
That's awesome. So the Youth Advisory Council, you guys are alumni of the council and you're in a different place now. So let me ask how that experience with YAC, as you said, Ray, how that experience has kind of helped you move forward out of high school.
It has helped me a lot. The experience was a great experience. I can't believe like now I am a alumni. Hopefully I can still be a part of certain things and, activities that they have in the future.
Okay, and Jasmine, what about you? How has it equipped you for where you are today?
It really helped me out with my leadership skills. I used my experience from the program to help improve our campus environment on my university's campus within our Black Student Union and exposing everyone to our culture just by applying everything that I learned from APC.
That is awesome. I want to thank both of you, Jasmine Lomax, Ray Huckabee, alumni of the Youth Advisory Council, for sharing your stories, your experience, and how you were using that involvement from high school to where you are today. So thank you so much for sharing your stories about the Youth Advisory Council with the Addiction Prevention Coalition. Eli, I'm going to send it back to you.
Wow, aren't those kids great? It's amazing what impact we can have when we reach them and teach them young, right? In our next segment, you'll see a recap from this year's 4th annual End Heroin Birmingham Walk that took place at Veterans Park in Hoover, followed by an interview with a mother and a son featured in the interview who have an all too common story to share.
So family members, loved ones, if you have someone struggling, let them know that you support them. I think there will come a time where they're just as motivated to prove you right, to pay off the support that you've always given them. And they'll absolutely have the same opportunity to be at an event like this on a beautiful day, witnessing all the hope and all of the great things that this community is doing right now to fight addiction and fight substance use disorders.
my dad had known. For those of you who feel like you are fighting a battle inside of yourself and feel like you are not winning, I'm so sorry. And I care, and she cares, and everyone here cares. It might feel like you are alone, but you are not. And it may feel like you are not worth it, but you are. We are all doing the best we can. Let's try to cut each other some slack and love each other a little bit better.
I'm incredibly grateful to let you know my son Weston has completed treatment and is currently 6 months sober.
Your son, did he undergo rehabilitation in a local facility, or where did he?
No, it's in Colorado.
And how long has it been since you've seen him?
About 2 months.
And I can imagine he's very grateful to you for what you've done for him. And if you wouldn't mind, maybe you turn around.
What an impactful video. And two people you just saw in that video are with us right now, Diane and Weston Flowers. We want to welcome you and tell me about the moment we just saw in the End Heroin Walk in Birmingham. Big surprise there.
Thank you. Yes, it was really one of the best days of my life to have my sober son, Weston, surprise me. I had no idea he was there. He was just beaming and handed me a bundle of flowers, and he just made me so happy and so proud. I will always remember that day.
Weston, what do you remember about that day?
Yeah, it was amazing. I hadn't seen my mom in a while, and I was in a much better place that day than I was the last day I'd seen her. And I set out that day just to do whatever I could to make that day special for her. And I think we did that. So it was beautiful.
It was.
Best day of her life, she says. Weston, tell us a little bit about how your substance use started, the point that it escalated, and when you realized that you needed help, you wanted to change.
Mm-hmm. I started, smoking weed just like most teenagers around age 14 or 15. I started to smoke pot every day, all day, throughout high school, and then got into pills, opioids like oxycodone, and before I knew it, like the road that I was on that people told me was so dangerous, kind of locked around my feet, and became a full flowing river, and it became too expensive. So of course I started using heroin and cocaine and all other substances. I didn't realize I needed help. It was my loved ones who realized I needed help, and I didn't really want help in the beginning. But as it got worse, I knew I needed to do something different. And it wasn't until I really was convinced that I could not do it on my own accord, that I was willing to take any steps in the right direction. I had to reach a different kind of bottom, like a spiritual bottom, where I didn't want to live anymore. And I'm grateful for that, because it was in that point, or it was once I got to that point that I could grow, you know, and that I could recover.
And you talk about the shock and the suspicion for parents who are listening. What did you do with that shock and suspicion?
Well, I sought help for myself. I joined Al-Anon. I joined PAL, put on by Addiction Prevention Coalition, which is Parents of Addicted Loved Ones. It's a wonderful meeting place to meet other people and learn their stories and gain strength and hope.
What did you find, that strength, that hope, but did you also find sort of the tools, you know, how they responded to experiences, and did that help you respond to Weston?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, above all, I think I really learned that there's hope, even in the midst of hopelessness. Hearing other people's stories was encouraging, so that I wasn't so enabling anymore. I've been very guilty of that, enabling, which wasn't helping at all. So I'm very thankful for my pals and Al-Anon.
I want to get back to that enabling, but Weston, I want to ask you, you said 15 months sober, so we celebrate that part. We know that recovery is this lifelong journey for people who've gone through it. In that process for you getting to where you are today, tell me what the recovery process has been like.
Things get easier, you know, they do. It feels like you're going to feel this way forever, you know, and you're never going to stop thinking about using drugs. But like in my case, in my experience, I have not had an obsessive thought about using drugs or alcohol in a long time. You know, that's where that's what's important to me. I wouldn't have wanted to have gotten sober if all I was doing was thinking about not using drugs. And like today I can go and do things that anyone else can do. You know, it is a lifelong journey, but it's not this constant fight not to get high, not to drink, you know. I've got a great life today because of my recovery. You know, I just recently got married. I've got a great job. I work in the field of treatment. Yeah, I'm just super grateful for all the things that God has given me through my recovery.
How important are those programs, that support? How important is that for someone to see that there is a way, but having a program there to support you?
No one will ever be able to stop addiction. It's just never going to happen. It's not possible. But what is important and what is possible is to make sure that these addicts and these alcoholics who are seeking recovery have those resources readily available and the information for programs, right, that help in people's recovery journeys.
Diane, let me ask you, what is one of the biggest lessons that you learned about, you know, you mentioned a little bit about enabling, but the difference between really supporting and helping and enabling, the difference that you learned that you could share with others who are struggling with an addicted loved one or friend?
Yes. Well, my husband and I really struggled with this at the very beginning. We were enablers. We were constantly feeling responsible for Weston, trying to fix, protect, rescue, and control. Doing these things, you know, was well motivated and compassionate, but it really inhibited him from growing and making the decisions on his own and wanting to change on his own. I think helping, what I've learned from PAL, helping is more like caregiving and being a role model for Weston, showing him strength, asking myself, what can I do for him to make him want to do for himself? And just being more encouraging to him, caringly confronting and listening to him is the difference between enabling and helping. I really feel the number one thing we need to do is redirect the focus on ourselves so we can be healthy for our loved ones. And we do that through gaining knowledge. There's books, there's organizations like Addiction Prevention Coalition, which gave me PAL, Parents of Addicted Loved Ones. And they've really taught me so many things and given me hope. hope is what you need, and resilience.
And so hope, I kind of hear that from both of you, coming out of that darkness of addiction into this light that you're able to share your stories in such a powerful way that can help other people. And so this is for both of you. How specifically has the Addiction Prevention Coalition helped you get to where you are? Diane, you talked about parents, PAL, but how has this organization really been that thing that reached in and kind of helped you out?
For me, I didn't feel alone anymore. I was really, really alone and frightened and didn't know where to turn. And so thankfully, Addiction Prevention Coalition had this PAL course, and I had been attending Al-Anon, but I'd have to say PAL really was the strong pull for me to get back to that place of hope and not hopelessness. And I gained a lot of friends that they have the same things in common, and we support each other, and that hope and strength means everything.
Weston, I want to pose that same question to you.
How it has affected me is how it has affected my mother. Addiction is not just about the ones addicted, it's about the family, you know, of the one addicted and the friends. And the fact that my mom has all these tools, you know, that she's learned through PALS and APC is I mean, I couldn't be more grateful. You know, I have a program for myself. Why shouldn't the loved ones have a program for them? So that's how it's helped me, is that it has helped my mother.
I feel blessed to hear your story, and I want to thank both of you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Sherry.
Recovery and support are so important when it comes to substance use disorder, not only for the person suffering from addiction, but for their friends and family as well. APC has multiple programs offering support for both that teach young and old alike much needed resilient skills to help you get through the hard times. Someone who knows a lot about resilience on and off the field is our next speaker, a man who needs no introduction.
Hey everybody, Gene Chizik here. I just want to start out by saying, man, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor that Carrie Wimberly asked me to be the keynote speaker for such a wonderful event. And I try to be able to speak to people and speak at events where I feel like they're well worth it. They've got a servant's heart. And so again, I just want to say thank you, and I'm honored. Today, I would like to dive into a little bit about myself, other than what you may either have seen on TV or known about me from being a football coach. You know, my father, it starts where my father was a World War II Marine. And, you know, it was 2002, I was sitting there, basically, he was in the hospital, unresponsive. He wasn't doing well. And I was sitting there with my father's best friend, and we were by his bedside, and it didn't look good for my dad to make it through the night. He was having some physical complications. And my father's best friend, Bill, said, you know, Chizik, and he patted him on the leg, and he said, you know, you lived 50 some odd years more than you should have. And I didn't know what that meant. And as we were walking out of the hospital, you know, I asked him, I said, Bill, what did that mean? Why did you say that? And he said, did he never talk to you about Sugarloaf Hill? Well, what I came to find out after he passed the next day, was that my dad was a World War II Marine on Okinawa, and he never talked about it. And if you do some of the studying in the Battle of the Pacific, it was some of the bloodiest battles of World War II. And my dad was right in the middle of those. And a matter of fact, there was a battle called the Battle of Sugarloaf Hill, where the United States Marines had to take this particular hill on Okinawa, and it became a slaughtering ground for the U.S. Marines. Basically, when you read the stories, thousands of men went up, and they tried to take this hill at night a lot of times, and their attempts were futile attempts, because what they didn't know is the Japanese were buried down deep in tunnels, and they were slaughtering the U.S. Marines because they never knew where the Japanese were coming from. And the story would end up being that my dad's platoon went up with 140 some odd men after they had tried to take the hill over and over and over for almost a week. And 140 some odd men went up and 12 came back. And my dad was one of the 12. And why do I tell you that story? I tell you that story because that's when it really hit me and it really resonated back in the early 2000s that I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. And I truly believe you are too. And I think that part of that purpose is service. And I feel, you know, and I used to tell our players this all the time, you know, we weren't put on this earth to be served. We were put on this earth to serve. And so that's why I am extremely happy and honored that I can come today and speak about such an incredible organization like the Addiction Prevention Coalition. So that being said, I want to kind of go back to my coaching beginning when I started going out on the road and recruiting. As you know, recruiting is the lifeblood of football. And I'm going to be honest with you, when I talk about addictions, when I talk about issues with families, when I talk about things that are real, I'm not really sure that I really understood that 30 some odd years ago when I started going out and recruiting. But what I got a chance to see is I got a chance to see hundreds and hundreds of families and coach hundreds and hundreds, which ended up being thousands of young men. And the facts of the matter is, guys, is that there's issues. And there's issues out there that maybe I wasn't necessarily even aware of 30 some odd years ago, you know. It's amazing when I sat there and I looked at our group of 125 young men, and I'd be in team meetings and I'd be looking out across, and nobody knew each other's stories, but I kind of knew everybody's story. And I remember sometimes standing up there thinking, man, it's amazing of the brokenness that's in this room. And you know what? It's not specific to football players. It's specific to all of us. And that brokenness comes from a lot of reasons and for a lot of, you know, in a lot of different ways. You know, I'll never forget, there was this one young man their family was extremely wealthy. And you know, the thing about brokenness is that it's never specific to a race. It's for whites, blacks, Hispanics, Asians. It's not about socioeconomic. It doesn't matter whether you have a lot of money or a little money or just kind of in the middle. It's there for everybody. And I want to talk to you today about brokenness, because part of what the Addiction Prevention Coalition does is it's out in the community and it's trying to battle this brokenness that addictions, whether it's alcohol or drug addictions, cause. It's destructive. And I'll never forget going back to the story about the young man I was recruiting. Man, he seemed to have it all. And he had this incredible home, multi-million-dollar home, 2-parent home. Everything seemed great. You pull up, I mean, there's a big gate at the front, and you think everything's great. Well, about a year into his career, things just weren't right. And he was losing weight. He was uninterested. He came into my office and told me he wanted to quit because he hated football and he never really liked football. And I knew that wasn't the truth. So we tried to dive down deep. The bottom line was finally, I just saw too many signs. And so I had him come over to my house and I said, it's going to be me and you, and we're going to talk. Relationships are everything to me, particularly with my players. And I said, we're going to talk. What's going on? Well, come to pass, his father was addicted. He had an addiction to drugs. It was affecting his family. They were getting ready to have a divorce. It was totally breaking their family and in turn breaking him. And that's just kind of one story. There's so many stories about that. I've got another young man that we recruited that was completely the opposite. No money in the home, single parent. Mom was trying to raise 4 or 5 kids, working 2 jobs. She wasn't around much. And it was tough. It was tough times. And one time we were doing a kind of a get to know each other round table, and we let the players have the floor. And it was amazing because this was a very quiet young man. He didn't say much. He was quiet. He was very moody. And we understood that his environment probably played into that, but what we didn't know was the depth of this environment. And as he started to tell his story, he's told the story where the mother had a boyfriend who was an alcoholic, and he would come home every night, and there was domestic violence involved, and he would commit these domestic violence acts against his mother. And he watched him do this for 2 or 3 years. He would come home, it'd be the same thing every night. He would be drunk, commit the act of domestic violence, and he would pass out on the couch. And he literally told our group that one night at 13 years old, he did it, he passed out on the couch, and this young man who played for us took a shotgun and put it right up to the mouth of this individual and was getting ready to pull the trigger. And about that time, his mom grabbed that rifle, grabbed that shotgun and said, "You will not give your life up for his." And I thought that was an amazing story that resonated with me. That's a tattoo that will live forever with me. And I only tell you these stories because these stories are out there everywhere. You know, we all want to sit there and act like we've got these perfect lives. You, me, everybody. And nobody wants to know what's really happening. But what we do know is that there's a lot of brokenness out there. There's addictions, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of things that we all want to walk around and act like we have this perfect life, but we know that's not true. And these addictions, these problems, these obstacles, they're not specific to anybody. They're actually for everybody. And today what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring a message of hope. 2020 has been a very difficult year for everybody. We've got COVID issues. We've got social justice unrest. We've got political unrest. We got financial unrest. People are trying to figure out how they're going to make it, what's happening to their 401ks, how are they going to get a job. We got an unemployment or employment unrest. And this is a time more than any where we need hope, and we need, we need good counsel, and we need people around us that'll help us. And we as humans have this fundamental need to be able to know that there's something down the road for us that's better than what we have now. And if there's ever been a message that needs to be delivered, 2020 going into 2021 is certainly the time to do it. You know, myself personally, I pride myself every day on trying to be, and when I get up and my feet hit the floor, the first thing I do is thank God that I have another day. But I want to try to get to a point where when I get out and I leave my house, that I'm a message of hope. I am a message of joy. I think God wants us to live our best life. I think He really, really wants us to not live in the depths of despair. And so how do I do that? Well, a couple of ways. Number one, I lean on family and friends. And you know, when we used to go out recruiting, we used to tell families, you don't have to have the same last name to be family. I think family comes with love and respect and relationships. You know, blood makes you related. Love and relationships and respect makes you family. And I think the number one thing is that isolation is never good in these times. And there's families out there that feel isolation because their children are victims of addiction. You've got children out there that are addicted. They know they're addicted. They don't feel any light at the end of the tunnel. Family and friends, you at home right now, every one of you in this room right now has something you're dealing with. And to what degree, I don't know. But I lean on my family and friends at all times. These are the people that love me. I love them. They don't care whether I'm a football coach. They don't care whether I'm unemployed. They don't care what it is. They love me. And I want to encourage you to be around those family and friends. Second thing that I try to do outside my family and friends is I want to be around positive people. I want to be around people that bring me energy, that bring me positive vibes. If you have relationships out there that are really energy vampires. They suck the life out of you. You know, there's sometimes you just, you know, when things aren't going well, sometimes you need to distance yourself from those people that just bring negative energy and negative vibes to you and your day. And being around positive people really lifts me up. And whether it's just my best friends, whether it's my pastors, whether it's our FCA leaders, whatever it is, I want to be around positive people, young, middle-aged, old. I want to be around positive people, people that speak life into me. That's what I love. Between my family and friends, between people that speak positive things into my world, that gives me hope. That makes me resilient. And the third thing that I always lean on is my faith. You know, I think about stories in the Bible, and I think about the miracles in the Bible. You know, there were 35 miracles in the Bible that people eyewitnessed. 17 of those were kind of bodily cures. 9 of those were miracles of nature. And one of my favorite stories is that you probably may know is when the disciples were in the boat on the Sea of Galilee. And I've been on the Sea of Galilee when it gets really windy, and I've been in a boat, and I understand when things start blowing around. Well, the disciples were in the boat, and Jesus was asleep, and they literally thought they were getting ready to drown. And they woke Jesus up, and they said, "What are you doing? We're getting ready to drown. Do you not care?" And Jesus calmed the storm. And, basically he was like, ye of little faith, I got you. I'm in this moment. That's where my faith really helps me through extremely difficult times. And hey, I've been through a lot of difficult times, and people look at me and my family and think that everything's always been positive. It hasn't always been positive. I've been through those storms. And one of the things about storms, and it's the representation of that story, it illustrates the fact that our lives are physical storms, they're emotional storms, and they're spiritual storms. And one can actually lead into the next. In the illustration, being on the boat and there's this physical storm, well, that physical storm then brought on an emotional storm. They were scared, they were worried, they didn't know what was going on. And I think that happens with us every day. There's physical things that happen. There's things in our life that really get us emotional, that we just don't see any way out. We don't know how we're going to deal with this. And that's where my faith keeps me grounded. I feel like I know where I can go when I'm having an emotional storm, because what I don't want is I don't want that physical storm to turn into an emotional storm that then in turn affects my spiritual nature. So that's really big to me. And I just want to tell you that because those are 3 things that are huge to me on things that really kind of help me move forward in my life. So that being said, in football, I'm going to kind of wind this up because I know we're kind of short on time here. There's a football saying that says, "No pain, no gain." And I want to tell this story because I think we grow from our pain. I think we grow from understanding that we can gain from our pain. And we used to say that all the time to the players. And I really use that with my own kids nowadays to tell them that life isn't always going to be fair. There's going to be pain in things in your life that you're never going to be able to escape, but you have to persevere and you have to work through those. Life is a fight. Everything is a fight. The game of football is a fight. The game of life is a fight. And it's a marathon. And I want to leave you with a story that is an amazing story about a guy named Cliff Young. In 1983, Cliff Young was a 61-year-old potato farmer, and he was from Australia. And Australia has a race over there that's one of the largest races in the world. And it's a 600-mile race on foot. People train year-round for it. So this is a way of life. And this 61-year-old farmer in 1983 named Cliff Young shows up and says, "I want to run the race." And they looked at him like he was crazy. They said, "Why would you want to run this race?" And he says, "I want to see if I can do it." "Well, have you trained?" "No, sir." "Have you ran in a race like this before?" "No, sir." "What makes you think you can do this?" He says, "Well, I'm a farmer. And there's many times when I got to chase my sheep and chase my cattle and chase my animals nonstop for 2 or 3 days to get them hemmed up, to keep them safe. He goes, I think I can do this. So he showed up in overalls and construction boots, and the race started. Well, because he hadn't trained and he didn't have a trainer, he didn't understand that the strategy of the race is to race for 18 hours and sleep for 6. But he didn't know that. He was just thinking, I've got to finish the race. So as everybody took off, they're blowing him away. He's a distant last from everybody in the race. But when everybody went to sleep 18 hours later, he just kept doing what they call now the Cliff Young shuffle. He just kept shuffling along. And he went through the night. He went through night 1. He went through night 2. He went through night 3. And eventually, as these nights caught up with him, he passed everybody. Matter of fact, he passed everybody so vehemently that he ended up beating the record, won the race, and set a record and beat the old record by over 12 hours, because for 5.5 straight days he never slept. He trudged along, and they asked him when it was over, why'd you do this? How'd you do this? And he said, it was a difficult race, but I understand, never stopping, never quitting, persevering through whatever pain I had. He would stop to drink some milk for 1 minute, and then he would keep on shuffling. He ate as he walked, and he finished the race. Matter of fact, he won a $10,000 prize and didn't know there was even any money in the race, and gave $2,000 to 5 other racers. So I tell you that because that's the ultimate job of persevering. And I'm going to leave you again with this. In 2010, we won the national championship, and I think about perseverance and how hard championships are to win. Everybody thinks their team and their coach and their players service. And so if you're watching this right now, I'm going to encourage you to get involved if you're not, whether that's a time commitment, a money commitment, whatever that commitment is, an awareness commitment, because this is an enormous community rally that doesn't need to be silent. It needs to be out there, and it needs to have people like you that invest and serve. Again, I believe that's what we were put on this earth to do. So, in closing, I would say that the different avenues that the Addiction Prevention Coalition allows us to be a part of is amazing. Whether it's student interaction, student peers educating each other on prevention. Prevention is a big deal. You definitely want prevention, and you want education, and you definitely want to be there for those people who are already in the middle of a seemingly endless battle. And these are the things that you're able to do. There's parent groups that are made for people of teens who are experiencing addiction. There's so many things that this coalition provides, and I want to encourage you to be a part of it. Win your championship in 20 and 21. What is that? That is giving and your service to your community and to the people out there that need you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening, and God bless.
Please welcome Becky Harris. Becky, thank you for joining us for this fireside chat and being willing to share your story, your family story with substance use disorder and how that has affected you. And you have been impacted really in more ways than one. Quite the story. Will you share? Do you mind sharing?
Substance use disorder absolutely significantly impacted the life and our home and our family. This is a horrible and debilitating disease. For the past 16 to 18 years with my twin sons, Kyle and Drew. But Kyle is now 32 years old, and he is in the Tuscaloosa County Jail. He's been there for over a year now. Drew is forever 28 years old. He fought his disease through working the 12-step program. He did it diligently. he did so well in recovery that he and his fiance, Anna, started a home group near where they lived at the time, and Drew named it The Dark Side of the Spoon. It was really sad because they worked really hard to get this together, and the first business meeting to name the officials and everything was supposed to be on May 13th. Unfortunately, he relapsed on the 10th of May. That heroin relapse was poisoned with a lethal dose of fentanyl. That's the day I was changed forever. It changed me and the way I think about life. And Drew did not want to be an addict. He did not want to be addicted to heroin. He was precious and he was thriving. He had grown into a man and was planning his future with Anna. They were going to get married and they had picked out their baby names. He had been sober going on a year. There's something about the year anniversary date that some people just can't make it to that day. He was an addict, but he wasn't just an addict. He wasn't just a substance use. That wasn't what defined him. It was just one of the characteristics that he did not want to have. Like, he did not want to have that disease.
Drew and Kyle are twins. You want to tell us a little bit about Kyle?
Kyle has been in the criminal justice system off and on since he was 14. He actually was released on May 24th, 2016. That turned out to be a summer of what nightmares are made of. Me and my husband, well, he and I went to pick Kyle up at Easterling Correctional Facility. He needed to be re-entered into society correctly and not just out on his own to do the things he used to do. But unfortunately, that's what happened. He got in touch with an old girlfriend and a drug dealer that he used to know, and that person got him back to Alabama. And so he and this girlfriend were living with the drug dealer. So they were in a stolen car with switch tags and being erratic, and a police officer got behind him and turned the lights on, and that's when this high-speed police chase of like 26 miles occurred. And that ended with the state trooper that was in pursuit finally bumped them from the rear, and at that point the car just went airborne and hit a tree, and it burst into flames. And the police officers pulled both of them from the car. So he finally went to court, and he was sentenced to a 15 split 3 sentence. He was charged with murder, but they did agree to manslaughter. So he's been in jail ever since then.
What is your hope for Kyle?
I hope for him that one day he'll be solid in recovery and have a family. He's always just wanted to have a family and have someone love him. It just seems as if he's just a criminal and it doesn't matter that he's sick. I mean, that's just the way it's been. Like, I know other states are making lots of progress and treating these type crimes differently, as opposed to like rapes and burglaries and, violent crimes. And I just hope at some point Alabama gets on that same path, because it's really horrible for somebody that is sick with the disease of addiction and mental health issues to be put into a place where there are rapists and really violent offenders, and anything can happen to you. You're not like separated from that. That's what you become, part of that system.
How has the Addiction Prevention Coalition impacted your journey at all?
It's so great to be a part of something so big and so meaningful that End Heroin Birmingham, just that statement is something to be a part of, you know?
And Becky, we are proud of you for sharing and having the courage to share and talk. I mean, I understand that this is not an easy thing, and being willing to share it and bring up all of those emotions again, just to help all of us understand. We appreciate you for doing that.
Resilience is the key, is a perfect name for this topic, because you have to be resilient because you don't know what's going to come your way.
What an incredible story. Becky, thank you so much for being willing to share your loss and your grief with us. Your passion for breaking the stigma and shame surrounding substance use disorder is truly inspiring. You know, Becky's story illustrates the problem we are facing and how critical it is. We have to fight to break down those walls and encourage our loved ones to get help sooner, because everyone is worthy of help, and it's there if you just reach out. The APC is working to make connections to get people the help and the education they need to live healthy lives. The need is great, and the timing is now. And speaking of inspiring, how about the message from Coach Chizik? No matter what team you pull for, we can all agree on this: resilience is key in leading a happy, healthy life. And we're so appreciative of Coach Chizik's time and dedication to this community. Now we'll hear a little bit about what's in store from APC in the upcoming year.
Good afternoon. I'm Carrie Wimberly, Executive Director at Addiction Prevention Coalition. We are so excited to have you join our event today. We're growing at APC. You're probably familiar with our prevention programming, such as Prevention Partners, our In Focus student programs, and the End Heroin Birmingham Walk. But this year, we've had the opportunity to embark on several new projects, such as the Alabama DSC House Party, a virtual talent show for our students to promote drug-free lifestyle. We've also received a new federal grant recently, the Partnership for Success grant, that will enable us to expand our prevention capacity in the city of Birmingham. And we're also partnering with UAB on an exciting grant that will provide prevention navigation services for our students looking for substance use resources and HIV resources. And we're about to begin even more initiatives to prevent substance use disorder in our community. One that we're very excited about is Teen Mental Health First Aid. Our organization has been authorized to teach this curriculum. We have 2 staff trained, and we're about to have 2 more teachers in the Birmingham City School System trained to be able to facilitate this training beginning in January. This training will enable our students not only to be aware of their own mental health, but to also be able to listen to their peers and know when there's a mental health crisis that needs intervention. We at APC are so grateful to you. We're grateful that you joined us today, and we invite you to learn more about our organization. Thank you.
Sounds like some very exciting initiatives are in store for 2021, and I'm sure you agree they couldn't come at a better time. I hope you've enjoyed hearing from these students and community members about the life-changing, life-saving work that APC does every day. We need your help in making sure these programs can continue and thrive as APC continues to grow. To the continued supporters of this organization mission, thank you so much. APC succeeds in helping countless folks in need because of you. And if today is the first time you're donating to this cause, you can feel good about knowing that you're making a difference in our community. Without argument, 2020 has been a year like no other, and it's resulted in increased need for APC programs. I'm asking you today to join me in supporting the APC with whatever donation you can, no matter the amount, big or small. Every donation truly helps. They can't do what they do without you. Simply click on the donate button and make your contribution online. Other giving options are available as well. Additionally, you can visit the website, apcbham.org. You can go there and get more information. Folks, we thank you so much for your time today. I know along with everybody else who's been part of this program, it's our honor to participate. I'm Eli Gold. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful remainder of your day.
Resilience is key in learning.
Resilience is the key in my life and yours.
Resilience is key to help the ones you love and support.
Resilience is key in recovery.
Resilience is the key.
Resilience is key in every part of Addiction Prevention Coalition's mission.